Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. Here we are in the kitchen garden. This is the smaller garden up by our home that is meant for our kind of our own production for the kitchen, for recipes, for canning, for eating fresh throughout the summertime and that kind of thing. And I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about, I guess, about something that we grow a whole lot of around here. It's our biggest crop. We don't have to do anything for it. It pops up everywhere on its own, and that is a very general category of weeds. So this is basically these two buckets here. I think they're like 3 or 4 gallon planting containers that we save for some apple trees and stuff. But what I do is, we come out to the garden and we try to keep up with weeds, as we all do. The biggest struggle in gardening, especially for new gardeners, anybody really, is coming up with a good system to keep up with weeds. But with all the gardening spaces that we have, we end up with a whole lot of weeds growing in places that we don't want to. So next to me here is the potato bed. The potatoes, they kind of start to die off and they kind of wilt down. They were up here, a good 3 feet tall about 2 weeks ago, and they'll kind of fall down to the edges of the raised bed as they start to get ready to be harvested. So you can see, I don't know if you can see this in the frame or not, we'll just tear this leaf off, but you'll see them start to brown, they'll start to kind of yellow out, and they'll go to seed, and then they'll kind of die off, and then they're ready to harvest. But in that time, you've got all those potatoes, standing up real tall, and we're not super picky about getting every weed out of here, so there's lots of weeds growing in there with them, but they normally shade the weeds out, and then once the potatoes kind of fall off to the side, all that's left is all the weeds, and then they start to shoot up. And so we go through it and we'll pull all those out, and then when we harvest the potatoes, this entire bed that I just showed you I was weeding out of, all of the potato stalks and all of the weeds will also be harvested. This is a crop just like any other crop. Just because we don't want this to be here, this isn't what I'm going to eat. These particular weeds, I don't even know what this particular variety is or breed here, but whatever these things are, we don't want this here. I'm not going to eat this, but the animals love this stuff. I could grow a field of this stuff and cut it down and bale it up, and they would love this stuff better than grass hay normally. And honestly, it's the easiest thing to grow because it is just what grows here naturally. It's what's around. It's what seeds are in the air and in the soil and in the compost through what the animals eat and everything else. So these are actually a huge resource for us. So let's take these back and let me show you our pigs, and I have a surprise for you as well. So these are some guys here on the farm that would eat all the weeds you could give them. You could grow this as a crop and they will eat it all. And we have one of our new mamas here on the left, and she has just given birth to 6 beautiful little piglets. It was about 2 days ago, I believe, that she gave birth. And so they have been very healthy little guys. And these guys will eat up, and so this is good fresh nutrients for the mothers. She will be actually giving birth to one on the right here. She'll be giving birth here pretty soon too. I'm pretty sure she's just about ready. But the piglets, you can see, they'll even try to eat it right off the bat. They know this is good stuff. They like this. They prefer this. And you don't have to grow a special crop for these guys. There's plenty of nutrients in a lot of this stuff. We do try to spend time with the piglets, now and then, just to get them accustomed to us, make sure they're not afraid of us. And here's another bunch that doesn't care about what kind of greenery you give them. They'll eat any kind of weeds and tops and all that stuff. So this is another crop that they'll eat, and they'll eat a lot of. So these guys are in a small pen here, and throughout the year. Whenever we have even grass clippings or weeds we cut down or pull or anything like that, any type of vegetation, that goes in here to them as well, and they love it. So another great resource for chickens. So we're out here in the front pastures, and we have our older sow, Virginia. She's from a different line. Let's see what she's up to out here. And out here we have, yeah, all right there, Chubby. She's the fattest pig, one of the fattest pigs we've ever had, I think. So we have 7 more piglets out here, so she had 1 more than the other sow did. We've been waiting on her for a long time. She has been so fat that we were sure that she was going to give birth about 2 months ago, but she was a little bit later than we thought, and so, but both of them have been very good mothers, and so far they've been doing great. Now we don't bring any weeds because she's actually the one that is out in all of our pastures. The other 2 will get moved out to pastures here soon. The other 2 pigs are in our barnyard, which has no vegetation, so we like to give them all the weeds, the grass clippings, the any of that stuff that we have for them to eat, and they get hay as well. But they prefer the green, fresh stuff, of course, over dried hay. They will eat the hay, but the weeds are their favorite. That's what they like to eat the most. So. What's really funny is even though these guys are out in the pasture eating all they want, if I bring them some weeds from the garden, they'll eat this right away like it's a treat or something. They think I'm bringing them something special. But just grass. You got a whole bunch of this out here, man. Goats probably love this stuff more than any other animal that we have here. The goats will really pick out. They love broadleaf weeds. I don't know the names of all the different things we have in here. I know we've got things like ragweed and stuff like that. They love this stuff. And that ragweed, I mean, that stuff gets super tall. There's a lot of this stuff in here, these little greens. There's probably 15, 20, 30 different varieties of grasses and plants that grow wild here. You don't have to have a perfectly planted seed mixed pasture to provide good nutrients for animals. They love this stuff, and this is what they're going to pick through and eat in the wild, and so it's not going to hurt to have that. Now if you're raising an animal that primarily grazes on grass like a horse or maybe sheep, then you probably do want to focus more on that, because that is truly what they're designed to eat, and they need more of those things. But but they'll eat the weeds too, and they'll eat all that stuff. The cows loved them. The horses really didn't. They're more picky. They're grass, and that's about it. So here, come here, over here. Come here. So sometimes what we think is an annoyance, there's been times when we've left a raised bed or a section of the garden just empty and let weeds grow there, and just every day gone out and grabbed a handful of them. Kind of a cut and come again treat for the animals that are on smaller pastures, or mothers that are in birthing stalls or things like that. Animals we don't have out on pasture, we'll harvest those weeds every day or every couple days or whenever we get a chance, and we'll throw some out to the animals every day. And that's a great way to provide them with fresh food that they need and get rid of something that you don't want. And so weeds are actually a great crop. It's something that we don't think about. We just want to get rid of them. We talk about cover crops and getting rid of seed beds and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we need to do that to grow the crops we want to grow. But we don't always need to just throw weeds, even in the compost pile. Let them get run through the animals first, and then their manure is actually it's already compost. It's already broken down, and there's so much nutrition in the manures from the animals. So don't always think of your weeds as a failure. We do want to get rid of weeds to grow the crops that we need for our kitchen, but those can be useful as well. It's all nutrients that comes out of your soil, into those weeds, into those whatever it is that grows there. So behind me is the popcorn patch. I did a video, I think it was the last video I did on this popcorn patch. And it had bad germination because of planting depth and a few other factors. And so we have this huge field of weeds. So even though we wanted to grow popcorn here, that was the plan, that was the intention, we grew something else. All of these weeds that grow in here, this is what commonly grows out of our compost. Anytime we use our composted manures from all the different animals, this is generally the mix of stuff that grows. It grows in our garden beds, it grows, you know, everywhere we put our compost. There are some varieties of weed in here that I'm sure someone probably knows what they are. These big tall things behind me, they'll grow 10 feet tall. Huge broad leaves on them, they're like a sunflower almost. They don't really have a flower head on them, but those things, you can cut those things down, break them off, throw those into the pig pen. The pigs love those things. They'll destroy that stuff. The goats love those things. They'll eat all that. And the chickens prefer the smaller leafed stuff. You know, they'll pick at this stuff. I think this is ragweed and grasses and other things like that. So even though we wanted to grow popcorn here, this is still a huge resource. You know, this is either going to be used to go back into compost, get composted back into this soil so that it provides nutrients for all the microorganisms in there, or those things are going to go back to the animals, to go back into the rotation, to be turned into manure and back in the compost pile, and they'll get put back out here again. So we don't want to lose those nutrients anywhere. They need to stay here. And so this is way we use weeds. So we'll probably cut this down. I'll mow this a little bit at a time. We'll rake it up, throw it in the tractor trailer, take it back to the pig pen. For those mamas there that are in their birthing area right now, they're not out on pasture, and we'll keep feeding them with good, healthy, green plants, and so that'll keep them healthy and reduce our feed costs and inputs from outside the farm, and help us to keep that sustainable operation continuing on. So I did want to address one common question. I just can't help myself. Common comment that I got on the popcorn patch video. If you haven't seen that video, you can check it out. Put a link in the corner. But we had this huge patch here. This has been over, I think it's been 70 days now since we planted that popcorn. And a lot of people said, how did you expect that popcorn to grow in all those weeds? Well, we didn't plant the popcorn in the weeds, okay? The weeds grew up after we planted the popcorn. This was tilled, fresh soil, heavily composted, heavily added a lot of nitrogen to the soil, and then we planted the corn. I didn't see anything sprout in 60 days. I watched and watched and watched. The reason that I let the weeds go this tall and didn't weed this patch was because there was barely any corn growing, and I knew I was going to have to till it. So I let the weeds grow because until I have time to do something with it, I'll let these grow, and I'll use them as nutrients and feed for the animals. So I didn't plant the corn in the weeds. The weeds grew up after I planted the corn, so important thing to note. Thank you guys for all your comments and feedback. I read them all. I try to respond to many. I try to thumbs up as many as I can and let you know I read them. And so I always appreciate the comments. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. What do you guys think? Do you guys like those little piglets? I'll give you guys a garden update here soon. We're going to be working in the garden, doing some stuff with tomatoes and wood chips. We'll talk about wood chips in the garden, nitrogen and carbon and soil nutrients and weeds and all kinds of other stuff in later videos. So look forward to that stuff. Thanks for tagging along today, guys, and as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.